All right, so it's been just over 2 hours. And again, we're roasting it just like this until the breast registers 130 degrees in the very center. Perfect. 130 on the nose. I'm going to take the turkey out. If you could please increase the oven temperature to 450. And that is step 5 of making the perfect Thanksgiving turkey. You want to start on a low temperature for the turkey and then finish on a high temperature so you get a nice crisp skin. So the salt pork is spent. It's done its basting duty. I'm going to take the turkey V-rack out of the pan because it's just easier to work with. And I'm going to remove that stuffing.
So over the years, we've gotten hundreds of letters about turkeys, and here's one I particularly like. I would love to avoid having to flip the bird, haha, as it is a pain even with a chicken. I've read that one can ice down the breast by draping a bag of ice cubes over for 20 minutes. Do you think that this would eliminate the need to flip? Well, actually, remember we tested this?
We did.
We iced the breast for an hour, but it does not eliminate the need to flip. It actually makes more even cooking. But you actually always have to do that, especially if you start at a high temperature. So flipping the bird is necessary.
Is important.
Right?
That's right. So what I'm going to do is use kitchen towels. I'm going to grab a good hold of the bottom, a good hold of the top. Now this is step 6 of the perfect Thanksgiving turkey, flipping the bird over, cooking it upside down so the breast meat is protected, then flipping it up at the end so it gets nice and brown.
Okay.
We're going to put this back into the roasting pan. We're going to continue to roast it, of course, until the breast registers 160 and the thighs register 175, which is about 45 minutes. All right, so our turkey is finishing roasting in the oven, and it's time for step 7 of the ultimate Thanksgiving meal, which is make your gravy while the turkey roasts, which may sound kind of odd because usually you make the gravy with the drippings, but the key to a successful Thanksgiving dinner is to make the gravy ahead of time so there's not that last-minute rush.
No. The key to successful Thanksgiving dinner is when you're making a gravy at the last minute, everyone's mad at you. Your spouse is going, where's the gravy? You're finishing off the wine secretly in the kitchen. Everything's a mess.
That sounds about right.
That's every year.
No, but if you want to make a great gravy ahead of time, all you need is a great broth. And in fact, we make our own roasted turkey broth by roasting some turkey wings and then making a stock. And of course, you can find that recipe at americastestkitchen.com. And of course, when you make a broth, you have some natural fat that separates out as the broth cools, and that is what we're going to use for the roux. This is half a cup of the turkey fat. We're going to heat it up over medium-high heat and whisk in a cup of all-purpose flour. You're going to want to cook this roux until it's really a nice nutty brown because that adds good flavor. And that'll take a couple minutes.
So a roux is just flour and fat.
It is.
Together, sauteed together.
All right, you can see this looks like the color of peanut butter, which is exactly what we're going for. And now we're going to whisk in our turkey broth, and this is a little less than 2 quarts of turkey broth. Now the key to making it not clumpy is to add it slowly and to whisk constantly. I'm just going to whisk really well to get rid of all those lumps. We're going to bring this up to a simmer and let it really thicken and simmer for only about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. And then we're going to set it aside, and then you can add those drippings left over from after you roast the turkey if you want. You can add them to taste. All right, so let's check our turkey. You want the center of the breast to register 160. Perfect. Lower the temperature to 400 degrees, please.
Okay.
So, of course, we're going to take the turkey off the rack and let it rest for 30 minutes, which is step 8 to our perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Let the bird rest.
Now, hundreds of you have asked us over the years, why do you really need to let it rest? Well, here's the science behind it. This is protein. That is, all meat contains mostly protein, and those protein strands are like cables. And let's imagine they're filled with liquid or water. And also let's imagine those protein strands, those cables are covered with an outer sheathing. What happens when the bird gets over 110 degrees internal is those cables start to shrink in length, and that wrapping starts to tighten so they get smaller in diameter. Some of that liquid, some of that water runs out of the cable. And of course, if you don't let it rest, you cut into it, and that water, those juices, just end up on your cutting board. The good news is that process will, to a certain extent, reverse itself during resting. The cables will relax, they'll lengthen a little bit, they'll start to get larger in diameter, and that liquid will be reabsorbed, some of it, by the cables and therefore the proteins. And therefore, when you slice into it, a lot of that liquid is going to stay in the slices of meat and not get lost at the cutting board.
Nice.
And there you are.
And there we are. So there's some beautiful drippings left in this pan. So I'm just going to take these drippings, put them into a fat separator, because you want to add the flavor, not necessarily all that fat. We're going to set this aside. So now on to our stuffing. Of course, we have this beautiful stuffing that was packed into the bird and has all of that flavor. What we're going to do now is mix it with the rest of this stuffing that didn't get to see the bird. And remember, we did not bind the stuffing yet with any eggs or broth. So we're going to do that now. We have 2 eggs and half a cup of chicken broth. If you could whisk that together for me, please. Pour it over top. Nice. I'm just going to mix it up with my hands, make sure there's no clumps of stuffing. All right, this is nice and evenly combined. I'm going to put it into a greased 9 by 13 inch baking dish. And this is step 9 of our perfect Thanksgiving meal, which is bake the stuffing separately. That way, you can get the stuffing up to a safe temperature without overcooking that delicate breast meat. We're going to put this into the 400-degree oven, and that stuffing's only going to take about 15 minutes or so to get nice and brown on the top and heated through. Oh, it smells delicious. That is going to be good.
It looks delicious, too.
It does. So now, time for step 10 of the ultimate Thanksgiving meal, which is carve the bird.
Okay, first thing I want to do is turn the bird over, because I want to start with the wings. And when you carve a turkey, especially when the legs and wings come off, you're actually not cutting through bone. You're just trying to find the joint. And so, cut a little bit like that, and just press it open. And there's the joint. Okay, that's one wing. We'll do the other one now. Same thing, we'll make a little cut. You can see the joint. It's perfectly cooked. And now we're going to take off the legs. And again, we're going to just cut through the skin, and we're just going to push it open like this to see the joint. Take that off. And now we want to take off the breast meat. It's good to have a flexible boning knife like this, because when you're going to go down, you're going to carve down, and then the blade's going to have to go out like this. We have one entire breast, and it's good to take each breast half off in one piece. So the next thing we'll do is just take the leg off from the thigh. You can see a line of fat here. It's about there. And you can take, if you like, the meat off the thigh bone on either side or just leave it on. And we're going to use an electric carving knife, because when it cuts through the skin, it doesn't tear it like you would with a regular knife. So there you have it, a perfectly carved turkey in under 5 minutes.
Nice work. So, we have our gravy that we made ahead. Of course, we're going to add some of the drippings. I'm going to give it a little taste. Oh, that's good.
Looks good. Smells good.
I'm going to add just a little pepper. Now, I'm not going to season it with any salt because it's pretty well seasoned already. Now, let's get down to business. Very nice. I'll put a little stuffing on your plate. Here's our gravy. Oh, that looks good.
There we are. This is great. I'm usually so tired by the time I get to Thanksgiving that I don't get to enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh, it has such a hearty flavor thanks to the salt pork. And the gravy tastes good for being made ahead with just a few of the drippings.
More gravy. This gravy is delicious.
Isn't it good?
Yeah.
Try some of the stuffing.
Ooh.
That stuffing has serious flavor.
It's embarrassing. This is better than my stuffing.
It is?
I hate to admit it.
Oh.
Mine's cornbread.
Takes a big man.
But this is good because I just roast it separately. I don't do some of it in the bird. That is worth a little extra trouble.
A little extra trouble. It's worth to put some of the stuffing in there because it really absorbs all that flavor.
So there you have it, 10 steps to the perfect Thanksgiving dinner, especially the turkey, which was salted very nicely, that great stuffing inside the bird and then outside and then combined, and finally a great gravy that's really mostly a make-ahead gravy. You can get this recipe and all the recipes from this season at americastestkitchen.com, plus our tastings, testings, and science. You can also go to the website and watch selected episodes from this year of America's Test Kitchen. This is the most fun I ever had at Thanksgiving. I have to go take a nap before dinner now.
No arguments.
This is delicious.